Everyone on YouTube tells you property is all about buying houses. Well, it's not. We have a property portfolio worth up to £6 million in West London. But the key thing is, we don't own a single one. That means no mortgages, no deposits, and no bank saying no. So what we're gonna go through here is exactly the how. What is rent-to-service accommodation? How we actually get these landlords to agree to this, and the exact math behind it, so we make sure we pay rent month in, month out, and still make a healthy amount of profit. So boys, let's get into it.
Hey, niggas ain't gotta respect.
What is R2SA, rent to service accommodation? This is basically where you rent a property from a landlord using a company-let agreement. You then are going to rent the property back out on platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com for a nightly rate. The reason why this is so good is because this makes you the middleman. Now, the good thing about this is that you get all the benefits of doing property whilst you don't have to worry about the headaches of being a landlord.
So how do we actually find these landlords to be able to take on properties and then rent them out on Airbnb? So we've listed out a couple options here that we've all done ourselves, and we've actually ranked them in sort of like the way you actually be able to find the most amount of deals, especially when you're first starting. So the first one here is realtor platforms. Now what this is, and the reason this is so good, is because all you're gonna find is landlords who have listed their property and are actively advertising their property to be rented out. Now on a lot of these sites were Open Rent, Gumtree, Spare Room, you can commonly find their number or just communicate with them and work on building a conversation. Now the thing to take into consideration when outreaching to landlords on realtor platforms is that for the most part, they're going to be expecting AST tenants. Now what an AST tenant is, or what AST actually stands for, is assured short hold tenancy. Now the best way to probably describe this is just like a standard tenancy, as if like me and Brad were to move out and go live in an apartment. It's just a tenancy which exceeds over 6 months. Now, the reason this is important is because, I mean, when you're actually outreaching them, whether you're texting them, whether you're calling them, you can't expect them just to, understand what you want, that you're a company and that you want to rent it out on Airbnb or Booking.com, which is why you have to pitch them a company-let agreement and actually, get them on board with your idea. Now, I can imagine a lot of you probably wouldn't even really know where to start with this, which is why, quickly, go into the description. We've linked a little cheat sheet just to give you some guidance over that, so go check that out.
So moving on to agents. What is an agent? An agent is somebody who basically represents the landlord on their behalf. They will basically rent the property out and take a fee. With agents, one thing to watch out for is in service accommodation, you aren't targeting the big names. So Foxtons, Dexters, Knight Franks, all those guys, you want to avoid them. Who you want to target is the smaller tier agents. So I'm talking small local agents who probably have around 10 to 15 landlords. Those are the people you want to target. Where you can find agents on Rightmove, On the Market, Zoopla. One thing to bear in mind is that with agents, you may have to go through referencing. Now, referencing is basically a credit check on you or your company to make sure that you can afford the rent payments. Now, with smaller agents, sometimes you might not have to go through referencing, so that's also a bonus. Now, the difference between agents and realtor platforms is that agents is a yes or a no. There's none of that gray middle area of just trying to convince the landlord. So you can be really efficient if you find an agent that does company lets, and you can take on quite a few properties there.
Now, referrals. Now, I've left a little star next to this because, in my opinion, and I know Brad would definitely say the same, this is hands down the best way to scale and actually take on properties. Now, referrals can actually come in different sort of shapes and forms. It can be through landlords and landlords' friends or relatives. It can just be, having a portfolio landlord and taking multiple of their properties on, or it can just be, people sending you properties and thinking you might be interested in them. Now, the reason this is amazing is because you don't waste any time. You're not sitting on phone calls, data scraping off realtor platforms and trying to get a lead and convince them. Is just straight money, cash. Now, the important thing to understand about referrals is that obviously at your current stage, if you are just starting, it's very unlikely you're going to have these connections or know these lands to actually get them. However, once you do, this is the gold mine. Now, the last one, mail/email outreach. Now, there's a reason this is at the bottom, is because quite simply, guys, this is the least effective strategy. Just simple as that. Think about it. How are you actually going to, differentiate yourself and actually convince that landlord, build a relationship with the landlord to where he's actually going to, trust you with his property when you're just another email in his inbox? Most likely you're going to spam. This is where, the people that actually do well in this industry differentiate themselves from people that do bad. In our opinion, and we've said it multiple times, mail and sort of emails, it's just a bit of like a scared approach to really getting with landlords. The main thing is get on a call with them, get your personality across and build that relationship. Otherwise, you'll be searching forever. So let's dive into some real numbers. What we have on the board here is actually, the exact numbers of the second unit we took on. This one was a lovely 2-bed in Kensington, Olympia. So what the rent was, the rent on this flat in particular was $2,975. Deposit, 1 month rent. Now, the best thing about this property, and it is a very good thing to look out for when taking on a deal, is that our actual furnishing cost was 0. Now, this is obviously taking into consideration like beds, couches, standard furnishings, which, if operators don't actually take that into consideration, you could end up getting yourself into quite high costs.
Moving on to the utility bills, we've got our gas and our electric. Now we've put this at £200 just because this is an average throughout the whole year. Obviously throughout the summer, it's going to be a lot lower. Through the winter, you might see it spike a little bit. What we use for our gas and electric is Octopus Energy. They are very, very reliable.
And the cheapest. Simple as that.
Cheap and reliable. Now, moving on to our water. We use Thames Water in London to provide us with the water. £50, very, very cheap. You can get set up, you can just call them and get that set up. With council tax, the best way to figure out how much council tax you are going to pay is you can go on the council or the borough you're in, look up the postcode, you can get that, or what you can do is you can type up mycounciltax.org, put in the postcode and it will show you all the bands within that road of that postcode. For your software costs, we put that around £100. This is because it just factors in your channel manager, your pricing tools for your long-term and your short-term, and also we use deposits, so that's another thing that we factored in.
Let's move on to the main event. The big boy numbers are things everyone wants to see. So, average ADR. ADR just stands for average daily rate. As you might have heard us say, we do rent these out on nightly rates. You might also hear ANR, which is just average nightly rate. They all mean the same, and it's a very, very important metric when stacking these deals. So for this property, we got 200. Now, the way you find these, and when you are looking for your first deal or taking on another, the way you do calculate this is, you can use various amount of ways. You use software such as Property Market Intel, AirDNA. They're great for a sort of market overview. They give you some great statistics. They show you the competition around. However, and you're hearing me and Brad say it time and time again, do not be lazy with your due diligence. Go onto the actual sites, Airbnb, Booking.com, and see what people are actually charging in that area. Look at the properties, see how the spec is, how they're furnished, how they look, how big they are, and find some comparables on these sites that are very similar to that property you're looking at. Now the reason is that those numbers don't lie. They're going to show you how many nights those properties are booked out for, giving you a great indication of occupancy, but they're also going to tell you what they're actually pricing at, which is why this is so important. And to be honest, we see so many people, especially first timers, completely forgetting about this. Whether it's laziness or they just don't know, guys, it's so important when doing your numbers, when doing your comparables, go onto Airbnb, go into Booking.com and actually find, the ADR that those properties are achieving. Cool. Now let's break that all down and find out what the actual profit is. So obviously rent, $2,975, bills on an average £500, and revenue, obviously we've spoken about that, $4,200 to $5,400. So what we'll be seeing month in, month out profit wise is, a range between 700 and 2K plus. As I said, revenue can be higher, revenue can be slightly lower. It kind of depends month on month. You do want to be conservative. Now, something key that I've missed, which I know maybe some of you are thinking about, maybe some of you aren't. Cleaning costs. Oh, where's the cleaning cost? Have you not factored that in? Now guys, this is something that a lot of people actually don't realize getting into the game, but when you are listing on Airbnb, Booking.com, all of those OTA platforms, you actually charge the cleaning fee to the guest. So we don't really need to factor it in here because it will be coming in as that revenue and it'll basically just cancel itself out. But obviously make sure your cleaning costs actually reflect the price you're actually charging to the guest. Otherwise, you're probably going to be losing money.
So why would a landlord agree to a company like? It's quite simple. Guaranteed rent. Guaranteed rent is in your contract that you'll give to the landlord, which basically states that, hey, on this day, I'm gonna promise to pay you the rent whether the property does well or not. Landlords love that.
Yeah, and also 0 voids. This is a massive one for landlords. And what a void period actually is, well, it's just essentially a period of time where the landlord isn't getting any rental income, whether the tenant's moved out or you just can't find a new one. This is like their worst nightmare because a lot of the time they'll have mortgages, they have bills to pay, and if they're not actually getting rental income, they're just going to be simply losing money. Now, also professional upkeep and maintenance. This is a big one because of the biggest misconception, especially with landlords that we've heard, is that they hear Airbnb, they hear that you short-term lets, and they think, oh my God, every day there's gonna be a party, there's gonna be people coming in, I don't know them, they're gonna be trashing the place. But this is where we really start working them in terms of objections, but also putting them at ease. Because I mean, us as a service accommodation business, it's in the name, service. It is in our best interest, and we do need to let the landlord know that we need to keep the property in pristine condition. 5 stars are really the thing that actually drives this business, and letting them know that we're almost like in the same boat, that look, not only is your property going to be kept in a good condition, but probably going to be kept in an even better condition. Obviously, all of those headaches, whether it's minor issues that they have to deal with standard tenants, we're actually going to take care of them, which again, landlords love.
Now, the security, guys. With the new renters reform bill, they're getting rid of Section 21, which is no fault evictions. This is basically if a landlord wants to come and take their property back, yeah, they're getting rid of that. That's all gone. Especially now with the new double mortgages that landlords are taking on the property, it's becoming really increasingly difficult to actually find a tenant that's actually going to pay. So a lot of landlords that we've spoken to and worked with, they're scared. They don't know what's going to happen.
And it's about that uncertainty, because think about it. Imagine you put hundreds of thousands, or if it's in London, hundreds of thousands to millions into an asset, and you don't even now feel like you have control over that. You gotta put yourselves in the landlord's shoes, guys, and really capitalize on that. No security, or we're the ones that provide the security over that AST tenant. Now let's take a little dive into the actual systems behind the business. Now we're not going to go too much into it because it can be quite a lot, and we're going to make an actual proper video, a real deep dive into absolutely everything, so be sure to check that one out. But Brad, take it away, get us started.
Thank you so much, Charlie. So you've got your check-in and your check-out instructions. This is basically everything the guests will need throughout their stay to make sure, hey, how can I get in and how can you exit perfectly? Imagine going to a hotel and you don't have any information regarding how to get into your place, how to use the dishwasher, how to use amenities, how to use appliances. This will
and when
give
people get it wrong, it's just, and it's not questioning why they're getting bad reviews. Guys, it's the simple things that really matter. Again, almost leading to that first impressions. You wouldn't like it if you couldn't even be shown where your room is in the hotel, would you? Then the next thing, cleaners. We say it time and time again, cleaning and the general upkeep is the backbone of this business, which is why I actually want you guys really focus on this. Now, the 2 ways you can get cleaners, we personally have our own in-house team where we find a lot of them through Facebook, or I guess like referrals through other cleaners. But what I do recommend doing, especially at the start, just while I guess you're learning the crux and the crux of the business, use a cleaning company. Now, obviously they might charge a bit more, but if you know whether you got from referral, you've seen their previous work, if you know that they're going to be able to take care of it and make sure your property is suitable for the next guest, then it is definitely worth its money because it gives you that peace of mind. So definitely make sure you're focusing on cleaners. Now, sort of kind of stemming from that, turnovers, and more importantly, the before and after photos. Now guys, if you do have cleaners or cleaning company and you aren't asking for before and after photos, more in particular, time-stamped photos, which is the most important part, then you're winging it. There is no actual way you'll be able to tell, A, the work's getting done, 2, the work's getting done to a very good quality, which it needs to be, and 3, they're not just, sitting there wasting time and racking up a bill for you.
Last but not the least, here is your guest comms. Your guest comms is very important because this is where you're going to be getting a lot of inquiries. We get a lot of inquiries. You probably will get inquiries every 2 to 3 days, and this can range from 2-night bookings to all the way to like a year bookings. So this will come through your OTA platform. So make sure that whenever a guest sends you an inquiry, your response rate is good, you're responding to them on time, and overall you're just being positive so that they can book your property. But guys, we will go into this in a lot more detail, so make sure you stay tuned.
So cool guys, let's go into what we would actually do differently. Now we want to talk about this because not proud of it, man enough to say it, we've made a lot of mistakes. A lot. Some have cost us loads of money, some have cost us loads of time, whatever it is, this is the things we would do differently. Now the first and probably the most important, guys, when starting off your portfolio, whether you've taken on your first, your second, your third, don't get overexcited, don't get greedy. Make sure we're staying disciplined on the numbers, and most importantly, don't just take on properties in any location you can. I mean, when we sort of 6 or 7, 8 months into our actual journey, we had properties in Nottingham, Birmingham,
all
Kent,
over
London, and that made it so difficult to actually manage it and be able to actually sort problems out, because even our team, they would have to travel ages to get to property. So we actually made the correction probably a year into our journey. We're going to niche down into West London. That was purely just off numbers and ease of the whole situation, because a lot of the time you are overcomplicating it.
So another thing that I would add to what we would do differently is a heavy focus on 5-star reviews. Do not 100%. Be a little bit timid, a little bit afraid to offer some money back for a 5-star review, because as you're starting, you're probably going to be getting a lot of your bookings, probably all of your bookings from Airbnb. So it's very important that you keep that rating high, as close to 5 as possible, because once you lose it, it becomes very difficult.
Now the next thing, and again, this has caused us so many problems, especially when we were young getting into the industry, but it's contracts. Now, looking back on it, some of the first properties we actually took on were some very weird, very loose, very dodgy contracts made by landlords. Obviously they were in the interest of actually having a relationship, but down the line they actually came back to bite us, which again, we'll always stress the importance of using a proper company-let contract. You can use ours as well, and make sure it's got the right wording. Make sure it allows permission, specifically says that. Make sure it outlines all the terms you feel comfortable with, because again, guys, you might not think it, but getting the deals is the easy part. It's actually how we manage it and make sure we're winning in terms of profit month in, month out. That is the part we want to focus on, because that's the part that's actually hard. So cool guys, that's it. That's the whole sort of structure. That's the business model. It isn't actually complicated when you do break it down and you are actually doing it properly. But again, it's important to understand it's not actually as passive as everyone else is saying. It's only actually passive when you do put in the proper systems, as we've gone over.
So guys, make sure you tune in and subscribe. I heard Airbnb said that if you subscribe, your Airbnb business will do well. Ain't that right, Charlie?
No, in fact, they said if you subscribe to the boys, you're gonna get super hosts, next period.
Let's do it.
Do it.